And it happened that the cloud had stopped at this place, at Wits End. Nowhere else to go. They had nowhere else to go. The Red Sea in front of them and Pharaoh behind them was fast approaching. Are you in a hard place right now? So I ask you, how did you get there? Do you think the devil put you there? My answer to you is this. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalms 37:23. So no matter what storm you're going through, no matter how black it might seem to be, God has put you in that place called Wits End. God isn't caught by surprise. He doesn't flip some cosmic coin to determine his actions on your behalf. Long before Israel left Egypt, God had a plan for them that was already set in place. He had already commanded the winds to blow in a certain hour to wall up the Red Sea, that he had known all along exactly what he was going to do. And I can tell you today, God has a plan to bring you out of your storm. He devised that plan long before your troubles ever started. And he will hold it back to that very last moment, waiting for you to trust in him. He's waiting for you to trust him. He wants to see if you'll put your life in his hands. He's waiting to hear from you, live or die. I will trust the Lord. Did you know Israel failed this test? They became fearful and fainting at Wits End. But God still did for them what he had planned all along. He delivered Israel with a mighty miracle. Had they simply believed God's promise that I will go before you and carry you as a man carries his son, they would have passed the test. But if you panic at Wits End like Israel did, and they accuse God of not caring, he will take you into another Wits End experience, and another Wits End experience, and another Wits End experience, because you didn't come through the last one learning to trust in him. 3 days after the Red Sea deliverance, Israel was right back in the middle of another big crisis. They were hot, they were exhausted, they were overcome by thirst. Their scouts came back crying, "There's water ahead at Myra. Lots and lots and lots of water for everybody. But guess what? We can't drink it. It's too bitter." Sound like us? Scripture makes it clear it wasn't the devil who had Israel at this testing place. It was the cloud that had led them there, remember? Once more, Israel is at Wits End. What a wailing went up from the camp. Awful accusations against Moses and God. You brought us here to die. Would we should have stayed in Egypt. Did God know these waters at Myra were bitter? Of course he did. But he had a plan. There was a certain living tree near that bitter pond, and he would use it to purify the waters for Israel. I wonder how many years before God had planted that tree there in that spot. How many times had the hot sun been beaten on the tree to try to wither it? How many worms had tried to kill it? How many passerbys had tried to cut it down? But I can tell you this, nobody could touch it because God had a plan for it. And one day my children are going to come here and these waters will need to be purified, and I have a plan to deliver them. And it's going to involve this tree. And of course we know that this tree in the desert represents the cross that God had already already planted, a tree of deliverance. He knows exactly what to do about your problem. The exact hour, He will do it. And all He wants from you is a quiet trust. He wants you to say, my God is with me, and He knows the way out of my troubles, every one of them. And that sweet tree is still here today to sweeten your bitter times in life. Whew, glory. Wits End, a place of suffering, pain, and insecurity. We can see it in Israel's experience at Rephidim. All the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. The people murmured against Moses and said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? Moses cried to the Lord, saying, what shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. Exodus 17, verses 1 through 4. God had led Israel to this driest place in the whole wilderness. It was a testing place. No stream, no well, not even a bit of a trickle of water. And most baffling of all, Israel was led there according to the commandment of the Lord, verse 1. God Himself had allowed His people to get thirsty. The people thirsted there for water. Babies were crying, children were wailing, grandparents suffered parched throats. Parents looked at their families and thought in a few days we'll all be dead. So they turned in anger to Moses and they cried, give us water to drink. They were still dependent on man, on the flesh, not in God. You see the picture here? God wanted them to trust in Him all along. They were still trusting the arm of the flesh. To trust Him there. He took them to Myra, where He had another plan of deliverance, and they failed the test again there. And now He brought them to Rephidim, even for more testing. Do you see the pattern? If you don't learn to trust the Lord in the simple things of life, when you're being tested, He'll bring you back and bring you back and bring you back and bring you back to another testing ground. And you'll go from one test to another until you get it right. And Israel was in such a place. They were hot and thirsty and angry. But God already had a plan. He wasn't going to let them die. You see, He had chosen beforehand to have them walk up to Mount Horeb, because there, under Mount Horeb, He prepared a reservoir of water. Long before. It was a source and reservoir of water that would last not just a day or a week or a month. It would last for 38 years. Think about how much water it would take to keep millions of people full of water. God was waiting for a response from Israel. I've taken you through all these things, but you have refused to learn. Will you trust me now? How many more problems do I have to allow in your life before you'll learn to trust me? Many Christians are being tested, and they're being tried right now through unemployment. They've sent resumes in every direction. Weeks roll by. Nothing turns up. They've used up their savings. They're working on whatever was left for retirement. They're surrounded still by bills and creditors. The situation looks totally helpless. There's pain and suffering involved. And you know it's never easy. Still others have employment and jobs. Still don't seem to earn enough to make ends meet. Many young people today have had to move back in with their parents. Can't make a go of it. Thousands of single mothers scraping by on a very tiny income. Business owners barely surviving, having trouble sleeping at night. The business world is so crazy. Skyrocketing taxes, increasing regulations, shaky profits, competitions continuing to grow, have exhausted all of their ideas and alternatives, lie awake worrying about what to do next.